Welcome to Stone Grove Dungeons. Today I will be ranking the top 10 lair actions for phoenixes from Reddit comments. Phoenixes are rare and powerful creatures, so when building an encounter, I did what anyone else would do 12 hours before their game was supposed to start. I'll be honest, this post got way more attention than I was expecting. With that said, let's kick off this top 10. First, we're going to start off with an honorable mention. Narrator DM said, very hot air and environment. PCs must make Constitution saving throw or gain points to exhaustion. Fire resistance gives advantage. With immunity, you automatically pass the saving throw. This one gets the honorable mention because I had posted the same idea. However, this post takes it one step further and incorporates resistances and immunity. It's a small change, but something players will appreciate when it does come up. Coming in at number 10, we have Pure Squash, who has 3 good ideas, but I'd like to put some extra emphasis on idea number 2. This one says, on initiative count 20, the floor cracks open, causing small pools of lava to develop. Roll 1 die 10 to determine how many tiles turn into lava. You choose the tiles. The lava tiles count as difficult terrain and deal 2 die 10 fire damage upon entering the space or starting your turn there, unless you succeed on a DC 16 dex save. This comment fits solidly in the theme and helps to encourage players to move around the battlefield, which is very important, especially at higher levels. Also, the fire damage and dex save can be adjusted depending on your player's levels. Coming at number 9, we have Jones Agnosis, who says, shell fragments from the Phoenix's fiery birth are all over the floor and room. They are mirrored from the extreme heat. The room can be filled with the brilliance of 1,000 suns, blinding all creatures within. Each creature in the lair must make a DC 18 dex saving throw or be temporarily blinded. Additionally, the mirrors create illusory duplicates of the Phoenix that can be determined to be faked with a DC 16 wisdom check. First off, I love the idea of using the Phoenix's eggs. I just think that's a very fun idea. Also, the blinding effect is a solid lair action, however I would make it a con save instead of a dex save and make it only last until initiative count 20 the next round. I would probably have things that represent the eggshells be on the map, and have the blinding effect be localized to the area around the shells. When it comes to the duplicates, I would probably treat it like invisibility and remove the Phoenix's figure from the map or place 3 figures on the map. Because obviously everyone has 3 Phoenix miniatures just sitting around. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like the duplicates need to have their own lair action, since if a player is blinded, then they won't be able to see the illusions. Coming in at number 8, we have a double submission. Air Louis says, fan the flames, fill the air with burning embers that damage players if they're not behind cover. And then following that, Immediate Horror 462 says, if you have other damage lair actions, perhaps this could act more as a mist that obscures the ground floor of the cave. Like I mentioned earlier, it's important to encourage players to move around the battlefield. For Air Louis' idea, I would probably have the effect start on round 1 with slight damage, and give the players notice that the effect is building. Then the next round, I would have a much stronger gust of burning embers roll through. Perhaps those who fail a Constitution saving throw began to cough heavily, preventing them from speaking, casting spells with verbal components, and maybe even no reactions. Now for our second comment here, I would remove any map pieces if you can, and more importantly, I would make the effect also knock characters in random directions if they fail a strength save. That way they are truly thrown off. And if someone decides to just sit still on their turn, then the burning mist can deal some extra fire damage to them. Coming in at number 7, we have Zweisel. We're going to focus on the third section here. And with the lava rivers, there needs to be something like bubble bursting in the lava that deals fire damage in a small area around it, or you could make it so that the lair action creates the bubble, but it only bursts 1 round later, and have it deal significant damage in a larger area. What I really like about this lair action is how flexible it can be. Offensively, the Phoenix can use the bubble to force the party together for big AoE attacks like breath weapons or spells, or it can force them apart for heavy single target damage without a lot of risk, without provoking attacks of opportunities from other players. Defensively, the Phoenix could place a bubble near itself to force creatures away or risk taking heavy damage. This would be a great tool if the Phoenix is immobilized for any reason. Coming in at number 6, we have Rancor 8209, and we're going to focus on the red box here, which says areas being under the effect of heat metal, and then a movable wall of fire. Because I think a perpetual area of heat metal would bog down the game, I would actually combine these two ideas. I'd make one or two moving walls of fire that work like the spell, but if a creature fails the saving throw against the wall, they would also gain the negative effects of heat metal for that round. This way, players can choose between expending resources on removing the walls of fire, or they can bite the bullet and attack the Phoenix with disadvantage. In general, the best game design will always be giving your players choices. Whether you combine them or not, they are solid ideas that can be built upon. Coming in at number 5, we have Ciad2703, who says, I'll throw in my corroded 2 copper pieces. Heat exhaustion, players make a con save. On a fail, players can either use an action or movement, not both, and no bonus actions. Obviously, don't use this if you already have some sort of exhaustion mechanic you are planning. Also, it may slow down play too much. I love the opening line about the corroded 2 copper pieces. Also, there is a great bit of wisdom here at the end. In general, you don't want to sacrifice too much game time for background mechanics. That said, I love this idea because 1, I also thought about using exhaustion, and 2nd, these mechanics are more immediately punishing than the regular exhaustion mechanics. Reducing player action economy will make that round of combat swing heavily in the monster's favor, so I might even hold this Lair action for the 2nd or 3rd round of combat. It's a great way to add tension later in the fight. It's a very good idea, and that's why it earned a spot in the top 5. Coming in at number 4, we have Skystrike 12. Molten winds, the air becomes unbearably hot, any creature within 60 feet takes around a 5th level fireball damage, and terrain within range begins to melt. The stalagmites in range melt down, spreading into large puddles of molten stone, and are considered dangerous terrain that deal d10 damage to creatures starting their turn in it, or crossing in it for the first time on each turn. I'm going to shout out someone else here. Delta20 submitted a similar idea about the stalagmites. I love the heavy impact of this Lair action. Not only does it deal a heavy amount of damage, but it also changes the terrain and adds new hazards. This is a Lair action I'd only limit to once each fight, because of how much it offers. The damage numbers can also be adjusted based on player level, or you can change the effect to mimic a spell like Firestorm or Incendiary Cloud. There are several options that can set up the melting terrain. The thing that placed it in the top 4 was actually how the terrain melts. That is something that I could see my players immediately reacting to and cause them to rethink their plan. That's what got it to number 4. As we break the top 3, we're going to start with Honorari, and we're going to focus on the first thing. Consume heat. The lava cools and solidifies until initiative count 20 on the next round, as all the heat energy in the room is absorbed by the Phoenix. In return, the Phoenix heals 18 die 10 hit points, or if that's too much, 10 die 10 hit points. This Lair action cannot be used twice in a row. Immediately, I want to say the healing amount and frequency can be adjusted. But what got this submission to number 3 is the unseen trade-off given. The Phoenix heals for a lot of damage, and I would consider allowing it to heal from certain conditions as well. This would normally slow down the game, except for one thing. The players don't have to worry about the terrain for this round. It gives them an opportunity to focus on attacking or repositioning without risk. That is the hidden gem in this idea. Coming in at number 2, we have Slashlight, and we're going to focus on the red box here, starting with Alter the Lava Flow. Mix up the terrain a bit and force some movement. This can be either expanding the lava or simply changing the direction of the flow. Make your players move. And then also we have Lava Dive. It's a Phoenix, sure it can fly, but wouldn't it be way more awesome to move in the lava? Allow the Phoenix to move within the lava to any space adjacent to it. Prevents attacks of opportunity, emphasizes player placement in relation to the lava, and increases synergy with the lava theme. Before I get into the analysis, I have 2 honorable mentions. Anduin01 and Master Anything 2055. Each of them individually submitted a piece of what we just covered. For starters, the Lava Dive feature is dope. That would scare the wig off of my tables fighter. And though it may look like 2 ideas are taking the number 2 spot, I instead would like to point out that both of these ideas cover movement and maneuvering. In a dynamic combat, players will be moving and coming up with ideas on the fly. If the battle is stationary, then you won't have those spontaneous ideas. So a good solution is to make your players move by moving the lava. And if that doesn't work, then a giant fiery bird swimming through the lava river like Michael Phelps will definitely make them second guess their decision. This is a great idea, and I will be using it in the future. And finally, at number 1, we have Pure Undiluted Evil and Lukey Dookie, who had nearly identical submissions, but I will be reading one of them that goes into a little bit more detail. Pure Undiluted Evil says, on initiative count 20, the Phoenix disappears into a firestorm or incendiary cloud, as the spell, and does not reappear until the start of its next turn. I like having the boss blink out for part of the round and then reappear somewhere unexpectedly. It encourages the players to ready actions, brace for impact, reposition themselves, etc., etc. This Lair action immediately reminds me of a Mummy Lord's Whirlwind of Sand legendary action, which gives them the ability to maneuver around the battlefield while practically being immune to everything. However, this version can deal some extra damage to keep up tensions. I like the freedom this Lair action gives players. They will have the choice to heal if needed, prepare for attacks, hide for an ambush, or even run away if the fight is too much. As the DM, you will really be able to use this ability flexibly. If your players are hurt bad, then you could use the Lair action to give them an opening to retreat. They'll still have to recognize it though. Or, if they are winning, it can give the Phoenix more time for minions to arrive. If your players are really strong, then maybe the Phoenix could still use legendary actions in this form. That's how flexible an idea like this is, and that's why it got spot number 1. Thank you for your submissions. I enjoyed seeing the community collaborate on this, so I think I will do it again in the future. If you are interested in the Lava River tiles, then you can check out the link to my website in the description. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Aside from that, peace out and have fun building your dungeons.